So Checkout, we're a global payment service provider
How did you get into payments?
where it's like the work you're looking for is actually in the work that you're avoiding.
Knowing that you are trying to achieve the right thing.
Yes.
If you're trying to do the right thing and do it 100%, then in this case, doing. Welcome to Connecting the Dots in Fintech. New episode here with Ash. It's a pleasure to have you, my man. So maybe we'll start with a quick little intro.
Hi, my name's Ash. So I look after the commercial financial partnerships at Checkout. It's a job which is a combination of 15 years of career experience across banks, schemes, sometimes a failed fintech or two. But to end up where I am is absolute honor and privilege. And I'm excited to share and chat about my career with you today, Arthur.
Yeah, we're going to discuss quite a few things. We'll talk about, obviously, the relationship between a PSP and the networks, but also the different players kind of in the space. I think you're probably one of the best people that I know to talk about this.
Oh, stop it. Okay, keep going.
I don't know if it's my mind, because apparently memory is finite, but if I remember correctly, you just did a pretty good panel with Visa and others. I think you've probably worked there as well. You've worked at Citi. You talked about your experience, but yeah, digital payments, fintech, and now you're absolutely killing the game at Checkout. Maybe we can take a second so that the audience learns a little bit more what Checkout does, and your role specifically with the networks, because I think that's a big component of it.
Yeah, sure. So Checkout, we're a global payment services provider. We focus on enterprise merchants globally. We have built our platform from scratch. We are principal members with the schemes. So we like to utilize our technology and deploy it globally for very large brands, give them a succinct experience, predominantly more focused towards them growing their own business. So payments should be invisible. It should be frictionless. It should have optionality, and that's what we need to provide. And when you provide that as a go-to-market for a company or global enterprise fintech that's maybe focused on retail or buy now, pay later, they can focus on serving their customers. So our job is to abstract that regulatory complexity, abstract technology, abstract banking friction, and kind of give them the ability to focus on their core businesses and manage the payments for them.
What's crazy is people actually don't understand or see the complexity. And I think it gives us a headache. I used to be at a different PSP before. And when I thought about all of this, right, like even...
You can say the name. You can say the name off.
I was at Nuvei.
You was at Nuvei.
But the thing about...
It's okay, we're still friends.
We're look at us now, right?
I know, right? Who would have thought?
But in general, I remember talking to, CPO and others, and it was so much going on. It was so hard to manage. And so managing that relationship with, in my opinion, the most important companies in the world whenever it comes to payments, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Carte Bancaire, and all of the above.
Yeah.
I think that must be quite a job. So maybe we'll start there, right? I think you've said it. You've been in the payment space for 15 years, right? Fintech, banking, health startups. Maybe we can...
Thank you for emphasizing that last point.
Hey,
really took your time to marinate in that for me. I
have
appreciate
been
it.
To a few failed startups as well. I'm just saying. So but that's how we grow, right?
Exactly.
That's how we understand what we should do, what we shouldn't, what to look out for. I want to double click on this, right? Tell us about the actual path. How did you get into payments? Maybe double clicking on your entire journey, on your experience on... You have a pretty big role now.
Yeah. Yes. Do you know, I was actually thinking about this the other day. Traveling, you get a lot of time to kind of contemplate life.
Yeah.
And I was like, how on earth did I actually end up here? And I journal once a year, kind of towards the end of the year, to take stock of everything. And I think there's a few core components. One is the foundations of my early teens.
Okay.
That's been the basis of where I've ended up today. And when I talk about foundations, it's about morals, values, and what grounds me as an individual that then gave me a platform to become who I am.
Yeah.
I think everything else, the consideration that your career should be linear. You and I have taken zigzags, U-turns, 2 U-turns, a figure 8, somehow ended up left and right. But, it's not a linear path, yet incrementally you continue to grow. And so I think formative years of, developing the base of who I am And then mentors that have been along the way at different parts of the journey have really shaped who I am to where I've ended up.
I think we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Mentors and it's usually a question that ends up being funny whenever you ask somebody, how the heck did you end up in payments? And people look at you and like, oh, I fell into it. But I think some people actually some people are meant to be part of something much bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
When you think about payments, that's what to me it is, right?
Yeah.
Like when I tell my parents what I do or my grandparents or whoever it is, like in general, I just say, yeah, I work in the payment space.
Yeah.
But then I start thinking to myself a bit like you, like I try to reflect, travel. I don't know if as much as you, but extensively as well, man.
I mean, you travel. Your calendar looks like Tetris.
It is. But at the end, like I start thinking what we do is pretty incredible. We are making the world kind of work. Not us as individuals, but the companies, that are behind us. And I think Checkout is an incredible business for this specific matter. I think amazing deal with, for example, supporting eBay. Or other businesses such as. So like what you guys are doing is very interesting. So
but I think that's a good point. Like we stand on the shoulders of mentors and people that inspire us. And we are an element of their trust, continuing to throttle forward into different areas of our career. And everyone is unique and different, right? And as you mature and as you develop your own EQ and your own subject matter, you fall into different pathways of a career. You become, centered around a role that's skill-based. I remember thinking about this, like, my mom was a banker, my dad was a chef. And I grew up in Australia. So you imagine we were the first Australian Indian family in Bondi, right? So, my dad opened up one of the first Indian restaurants there, Bombay Curry Bazaar. And, we kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And, like embracing the uncomfortable was something that I had to engage with early because of where I was away from my actual culture. It was an amazing platform and I had an amazing upbringing. But that was one of the values I was talking about. And, I was going to say, I won't do a cheesy quote, but I think I heard this in another podcast somewhere where it's like, the work you're looking for is actually in the work that you're avoiding.
That is so true.
It's you're married in that and you're like, hang on a minute. What you need to develop in is almost what you either avoid or what you're uncomfortable in. And so that was really a formative part of my career. And for me, working as a kitchen hand, on a hot summer's day in Australia, serving the ice creams, making the juices, I learned work ethic, like hard work. I learned the value of money, of dollar. I learned the value of commerce because I could see how my parents would. It's quite difficult to be an entrepreneur, as you know as well. And every dollar counts. How you kind of utilize your balance sheet, how you deliver value, and that's what you're doing. You're delivering value and receiving commerce. And I think I got such an early insight because my parents were entrepreneurs. My mum moved into banking because she's like, you know what, I'm sick of these days in the kitchen, telling my dad, so I was very lucky that my mum moved into banking. And then I kind of finished high school a little bit lost, I'd say. I was like, what do I move into? And I think one of the things that I kind of felt, so the rebel that I'm not, right? So I born with IQ, not utilized at that point. A rebel at 18. I'm like, right, I don't need to finish my degree. I'm going to go the abstract path. I quickly realized money was a necessity to survive. And so my mum, was like, look, why don't you start at the bottom? If you don't want to do a degree, why don't you do a work degree? Why don't you start in a call center in banking and learn payments? So my first 3 to 4 years of my career, 90 calls a day, customer service, retail, like SMB banking, loans. You'd learn the ins and out of a banking system, a ledger, what customers go through. It was like something that I became infatuated with. You can't do that many calls a day unless you actually are interested. And you modularize the way they develop you in banks if you start that pathway. And people take notice to consistency. So all of a sudden, I'm realizing hard work, embracing the uncomfortable, being consistent gets rewarded. And those are things that were kind of self-reinforced by a payments career. And that's why we're so lucky to be in it, because to your point earlier, the amount of innovations happened in the last 5 years, actually, let alone the last minute, is prolongated against the last 10 years, right? So that was so formative for me. And then to your point before, the mentors. So I could rattle off to you Susan Yang, Phil Robinson, Richard Wild, Sid Vasili, Anthony Cahill. I'm incredibly lucky that these people decided to share their wisdom with me. And at each part of my career, when they were my mentors, everything they said, I would absorb in a different way, and it would take on a different skill set within my role. So when I moved into account management, into corporate banking, into sales, into hybrid sales and account management, into analytics, into P&L management, you take elements from each of these mentors, but you have that foundation from the start. Sorry, it's been a bit of a monologue, Arthur.
No,
but it's kind of a natural rollout.
It's extremely interesting. It's almost like beauty in the chaos. No, it really is. And okay, most people don't know this, so here is one. But when I came to the US for the first time, I came because of tennis.
Really?
Right?
You're an athlete?
Yeah. A little bit past life.
In case the 1% body fat didn't give it away to your audience, I'm an athlete. I don't know if you know.
But that was the first time. And then I came back. And when I came back, I took a loan.
Yeah.
And I was doing my master's. So I did 2 masters, one in international business, second one in business analytics. And I hated business analytics. Like I hated coding. But we'll come back to that. When I was doing this, after my first year in San Francisco, for the ones that know, that city is so expensive. So I ran out of money. A bit like you, money is a necessity. So I had to figure things out. And so I had to find ways and ultimately, like give tennis lessons, work in bars, and other things such as, but like whatever I could while also doing my master's. I was developing Fintech company at the time as well. So I was trying to bring the company actually from Australia to the United States. And
We've always been connected somehow.
Yeah, we have. Dot one, connecting the dots to something. But the thing that was very much, that resonated with me is to grow, you need to do the things you're uncomfortable with.
Yep.
And I'm realizing this. I think you said you journal, right? Like once a year. I tend to take a step back and I need my me space because of this. I need to reflect onto how things are going. And for me, my life over the past 2.5 years has accelerated drastically. Like every 2 to 3 months, I pinch myself and I'm like, what the heck just happened? But like humbly, I come from very humble beginnings.
Yep.
And so still humble.
Yep. Yeah.
Still beginnings. But it's been a journey and a bit like you, I think mentors is one of the things that mattered the most to me and still does. Would you say that mentor specifically is what got you the furthest along today? Or would you say there is some of a component that actually got you there?
Every time I thanked my mentor, they would repivot back to things that I'd done that they'd suggested. You don't have to listen to your mentor. You don't have to action it. You don't have to do the uncomfortable. But every time you apply self-humility, their application back of, look at the disciplines that you've done, look at the things that you've implemented, and to your point, this world is getting busier and busier.
Yeah.
I mean, remember the 90s dial-up modems? Remember the click-clack machines? Are we giving away how old you and I are? Remember, technology, digitization, these thematics have accelerated into agentic and AI and tasks being done at a more efficient level. We are constantly striving to be more and more efficient. I think I like how you're taking a pause on this stuff, right? Because when you pause, you give yourself time to reflect. And that's what it's so crucial because that's what all my mentors have said. They've always said, look, and if you're going to fail, not fail fast, fail right. How does it fail right? Give it 100%. Some people fail fast, but they fail fast with 50%.
Yeah.
Fail fast, fail with 100%.
I think fail right to me is not just fail 100%, it's also fail knowing that you are trying to achieve the right thing.
Yes.
Because you can fail. Failure is quite simple. But if you're trying to do the right thing and do it 100%, then in this case, doing, I think, what you're supposed to be doing. And those failures ultimately, and I hate the word failure.
Yeah.
Because at the end, I truly believe that if you're doing what we just talked about, you're not really failing.
Yeah.
You're taking a step forward. Yeah. Taking a step forward to me is never failing.
Exactly.
And so it's pretty crazy.
Well, as long as you embrace that as well and you acknowledge the learnings. And I think to your point as well, yes, failure has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So does the word earlier that you said, hustling. And I was actually discussing this with one of my new team members, Ed, the other day.
Okay.
And we were like, hustling sometimes has a negative connotation.
It does.
And a lot of our leaders at checkout say like, hey, let's hustle, let's get it done. And I think it's very pertinent to unpack what does it mean to hustle. It means to give it all, to be focused on the end outcome,
Yep.
to look at every means possible, and to find solutions, also be lazy and try and find the laziest solution that's most efficient. But, all these rhetorics, like taking away the connotation, but applying the disciplines. Every time, I get to see an athlete or someone that's from a high performance realm, I always ask them like, like, how do you stay motivated, or what is it? And what you realize is it's not that they're motivated for the application of being a footballer or a cricketer. It's that's their DNA. Like they wake up wanting to be the best person. So, they'll dress the best way that makes them feel good. They'll look after themselves with, a skincare routine. They'll do what's important to them and their self-care. So I think that application as a behavior and as a discipline, let's break the connotations, Arthur.
I think I'm going to, first off, I'm going to touch on one point that you just mentioned, and then I'll bring a segue. There is a leader, and I forget his name but like he said, if I have to choose between two people that have the exact same outcome, like they can perform the same way and they're as good, I'll choose the lazy one. And that I was like, wait, why?
What are you looking at me for?
and then I was like, okay, why? And then he explained specifically, it's because that person basically found a way to optimize and do things and get the same outcome as the other person.
Yep.
And so over the long course of a lifetime, if that person keeps optimizing, it's just intellectually more interesting. And so they'll be able to bring more an advantage. So that's one. Segue into what you mentioned before, because I want to double click on it. You mentioned technology.
Yeah.
I think you're pretty close to digital assets, crypto space, everything else.
Yeah.
Quite curious, what kind of inspired you to pivot into that space? Like what made you, because I think you're someone that has a little bit of a vision. What made you kind of understand, hey, you know what, like this is the space I want to be in? Yeah.
So I feel like with thematic, running towards the uncomfortable with the fintech that I came from a very long banking career at Citi of 10 plus years. I jumped into a fintech, I thought equity, shiny, I was hustling. I was like, okay, how do I get to the next level? What's next? Little did I know that I had to manage cash flow a little bit more importantly, and maybe freezing some sandwiches over the weekend was a smart move. So, thank you, Tesco's. It's not a paid ad. But for me, it was transitioning from, okay, I did the fintech, and me and the founders, we had a very raw conversation about, like actually not just yet. And it's also good to reflect, like, not just yet. So I ran for cover. I ran for a Fortune 500. I ran for Visa. So I joined Visa when it just removed itself from being a membership organization and merged with Visa Inc. So it became commercial. Now, back when I joined, let's say 7-8 years ago now, there was a war heating up. This was the rise of the fintech. This was Tom Blomfield Monzo. This was Nick Storonsky Revolut. This is Guillaume Prizaz powering. Like this is like the rise of fintech, right? Regulations opened up. Tech's opened up. This is like the Wild West for us. Like this is the gold rush for you and I in payments, right? All the innovation was timed with regulatory clarity, because now people knew what they could do with EMIs. They were being awarded. It was being able to passport and serve multiple business models. So when that happened, Visa had to differentiate.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this with a Visa lens now, because MasterCard had jumped on that fintech wagon a little quicker. Visa does great with traditional banks. MasterCard does great with corporate payments and fintechs. So that was the perception. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of in sales here at Visa. First time we're commercial. What's going on? And within that gold rush, digital assets was starting to form. And I realized people over here were adopting, but then they were trying to use it in the real world. So they needed a bridge. And obviously getting Visa to become that bridge, that kind of divestment vehicle where you could liquefy digital assets and you could be an issuer, it would be the perfect solution for them, right? It's my dad bought some Bitcoin. He wants to buy a new sofa. Bitcoin went up, sells the Bitcoin. goes down to the shop and Bob's your uncle. He's bought himself a new sofa and a carton of beer. That's all he wants. But I can give him utility and access, and he can access a new market of investments. Now, at the time, obviously, regulation, everything was coming out, but I kind of just saw utility. I saw it was also something that not everyone was doing, which means it was probably an opportunity to capitalize on.
Yeah.
And, crypto.com launched their card with Visa. We had a lot of fun programs that Visa was launching Coinbase at that time in Europe. There was a whole raft of programs, and the utility, you saw crypto.com when it grew. It was the utility of that card that made crypto real at that point. And that's when I was at Visa going, right, we need to get these guys to issue, issuing and acquiring, cornerstone of the business model of schemes. And this is going to give optionality, but it's going to bring a thematic to life. I know we might touch agentic later, but bringing the thematic to life is being the bridge. So that's how I got into digital assets, a very running for safety, then going to being uncomfortable again. It's like I'd never be comfortable.
Where can I put myself to make sure that I'm challenging myself and saying, let me think, well, yeah, digital asset, that makes sense.
Join that M&A after 50 years and go for that go-to-market.
Did you face any specific challenges in making that change? Like whenever you decide, okay, I'm going to go into this, what were kind of the biggest hurdles that you had to face?
You're trying to explain a new payment ecosystem with a whole set of different rules, a whole different way it operates, and a whole new layer of technology, blockchain. So you got two challenges: whole new monetary system that's value can only be reflected back against fiat. Trying to make that standardized, and obviously then stable coins inserted in.
Yep.
And then you've got technology explaining blockchain and why that's relevant. Well, that means people can have more transactions per second on a new scale, and you can create closed loop, open loop systems. These are all managed by democratic layers of. I won't go nerdy on you, but you know where I'm getting at.
You can.
So, well, technical and fiscal. You're trying to explain both to a company like Visa that's trying to innovate, but innovate in the right way. These schemes want to allow innovation.
Yeah.
They don't want to break regulatory hurdles because the regulations are good. They protect consumers. They provide utility. They create business models. And those business models reinvest in the market. People don't realize how important that perpetual is. So they're trying to figure out, how do we interact here? Well, and the regulator's like, what do we do here? So then I add in regulation, tech, fiscal, right? And then you're trying to explain this to a traditional business model. But a lot of digital asset companies embraced TradFi. The ones that did smart, you look at the Bitstamps, the Coinbase, even the crypto.coms, they went to the regulators. They worked with them. They got the licenses. It's the cornerstone, because the regulators fundamentally there to protect you and I from bad systems. And hey, look, every new technology, there are bad actors. Things are going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't be perfect.
It's interesting that you're one of the few people that I've ever heard actually say regulations are good. That's all I'm saying.
That's because you might be, vote for Sharma Mayor 2029.
Yeah, something like this. I mean, just tell me where to sign. I think it's a perfect segue as well, right? Like let's take a double click on partnerships and checkout.
Yep.
Right. And when I think about partnerships and checkout, like you guys have so many partners to power payments. Who are some of the key partners, and why do you choose to collaborate with them specifically over others?
Yeah. Look, we consider the schemes partners and our APM providers partner. Now, checkouts, one of the things is to abstract the complexity of payments and let companies be global and grow their business model. So for us, when we're able to, partner up with Visa and MasterCard, talk about business models, issuing and acquiring is a fundamental cornerstone, but so is, the mechanism of how it happens, securitization, tap to pay. That technology is important. So us being a technology partner with them, bringing that solution as an acquirer, as an issuer to market, really helps these models grow. Add in APMs, which gives optionality. You've got PIX in Brazil, you've got Bizum in Spain.
It's growing
it's phenomenal, right? And then Visa's launching its own A2A, and MasterCard's got open banking, and you're actually going, hold on a minute, the schemes are in every rail.
They are. People forget about this, but they are.
MasterCard's your open banking partner. People are like, wait a minute, Visa's got A2A, like recurring direct. You're like, hang on a minute. So I think they're our partners. The schemes are our partners because they help us grow our clients and their business models and safely. And globally, I think that's the other realm. Like we are moving towards consumers, businesses, even in B2B payments, wanting frictionless, wanting digital experiences, data. They want security, tokenization. People are going to overlay, agentic AI and commerce into all these
Yeah.
functionalities down the track. So the schemes are like, for us, a very important partner.
Uh,
And it's not only like commercial, it's bringing in technology in the right way.
I think it's fascinating, and you touched on it. Maybe just do a double click on it because it's a hot topic at the moment. But agentic, in order to develop anything agentic,
Yeah.
you're going to need partners, and I think the schemes are extremely well positioned. Spoke to some large merchants as well, and obviously they're trying to work with the right partners as well. The word partner is being used, and
Yep.
and the schemes are often looked at as the big black wolf, but in reality, like without them, payments doesn't happen.
Yep.
Like literally, like so.
Yeah.
They're expanding, they're growing. I would say they can be an amazing partner if you're actually in the right room with the right people.
Yeah.
They're so gigantic that
Yeah.
you need some right people to navigate this, but
Yeah.
but this makes total sense. You mentioned previously Coinbase and crypto.com, right? Would you consider them also partners, like merchants, obviously, that you guys work
Yes.
with
Yep.
and ultimately you have to grow with, and they
Yep.
probably are pushing you in some type of way?
Yep. Our founder and even our C-suite often says like we're here to serve our merchants. Like they are our founding. They are probably the most important part.
Yeah.
And it's essentially down to them pushing us in different ways that make sense to help them grow. Their only goal is, their goal is performance, and that's where we say we're obsessed with performance. Like
Yeah.
every bip counts, every dollar back into that business model counts. The looks of Spotify, eBay, ASOS, they push us to be global. They also say, hey, like, how do we go into this market? One thing that Checkout's done great is if you look at the Middle East region, we're one of the first non-local bank acquirers there.
Agreed.
Again, one platform, acquiring, issuing, money movement, Visa Direct, MasterCard Move. These business models can go in full stack, provide Apple Pay, tokenized payments, and literally digitize an economy. You look at, I think it was like the stats in the Middle East on growth. Digital by design, not by default.
Insane.
It's insane. The UAE region, insane. And we're looking at consumer adoption of, velocity on digitization, but even B2B payments, right? Banking has had so much legacy issues with pipes, correspondent banking, cost, money movement, accounts payables. Like this stuff is being polarized now. So absolutely, to your point, like our biggest partner is our clients. Like they literally push us. And then in return, we push the schemes. And
of course you do.
It's it's a fun relationship. It's very circular,
At the end, I think we talked about merchants, talk about the schemes. I think we're all trying to solve for one last component, which is the end consumer.
Yep.
Whether it's a business or a customer, but I think I would consider them partners as well. On the partnerships side of things, right, and realm, what are you guys currently working on? Is there like something very specific? Like where would you say, yourself, your team, and I guess Checkout, I guess, as well?
Yep.
What is kind of like the big trends that you guys are focusing on at this point?
Yep. I think there's a lot of optimization on unit economics that needs to happen with the PSP. And that means we should be bringing core payment products as a payments node behind the scenes together. So that's why Checkout built one platform.
Yeah.
Acquiring, issuing, issuer processing, pay to card, on-ramp, off-ramps, MasterCard, Visa Direct. I joked with Chris Newkirk last week, like we have 195 plus countries enabled. The only place left is almost Antarctica. and I said, we'll follow them because it gives optionality. So, but optionality comes with unification of tech.
Yeah.
These companies can't give optionality if they have 19 million integrations to run and then rules to adhere to with different schemes. So we take that, we abstract it, and that's the key. It's the technology layer, like bringing these core products together. And if you look at it, like a lot of fintechs in Europe, for example, that wanted to do a consumer play, when interchange got capped at 20 bips, it's very hard to sustain issuer processing costs, requiring costs, and then try and make money off the 20 bips. There is no utility. Yes, it made transactions cheaper, but it also killed a bit of innovation.
Yeah.
Now, I think by us being able to come in and level that playing field, we'd want to see more, innovation pan-European.
Yeah.
I say that includes Europe. Like I'm still in denial about Brexit. Like, they're like, come to the UK. you'll be able to access Europe. And now I'm like in 4-hour lines with my Australian passport in Europe, UK. So,
It is so bad.
you
It
know,
is so bad.
but I think of it as a digital, mature, um, very smart end user like continent and economy. And if we can abstract all those complexities, give these merchants business models that they can deploy, products that actually serve us day to day, I think that's where the value is going to be.
I think I'll double click on one thing, like to dive one step deeper, which is, I think I read that checkout moved into 24/7 stablecoin settlements with a partner like Fireblocks. Schemes is one partner, because I think this is like one of the things for PSP. Like, and I think that's one thing that I would love the audience to learn more about is how do PSPs that are successful, checkout is one of them, work with the schemes? How do you define a great partnership there?
Yep. I think it starts with a couple of things, but it starts with got to be a people person. Like you actually got to like value other people's opinions and embrace the knowledge they provide. People at schemes have a wealth of knowledge. They see all the business models. They have the ability to impact change. So step one is actually embracing that, to your point earlier, they're big, they're complex, they're like their own government, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to navigate that effectively means you can effectively push your customers' business models into areas where they consider enhancements to rules or technology or innovation that lets everyone then subsequently grow the ecosystem more. And that's what their people at schemes are there to do. They're not your enemy.
No.
People sometimes treat them as the enemy. They're the bad guy. They take the fees. Yeah, but they're reinvesting back with tech, with new business models, with changing your rules and reducing fees in certain areas to allow innovation. So I think one, think of them as humans. Some people don't think of schemes as humans. Think of them as humans. They're actually really good people to collaborate with. They listen. They have a great view, and if you win their hearts and minds, you'll be able to work with them. So collaboration is key. The second thing is also like whiteboard with them. Be like, hey, look, we have these business models that might need this, and it could be impactful. And it's not just Visa and MasterCard. It can be a local payment scheme, car bank. It can be anything.
Yeah.
Some of these local payment schemes exist to be an alternative to Visa and MasterCard. They exist to reduce cost of transaction. But with that, you get a loss of utility. You get a loss of consumer protection. You get a loss of technology standards. Yes, exactly. And then you might kill business models that are in between it, that are actually thriving and providing value. So I would say like, don't innovate with them, partner up, like let your ideas flow. Then I'd say the other thing is you got to kind of, you got to kind of set the pace with them. And to be fair, the schemes operate at pace. If you say, look, this is how we operate.
Yeah.
We're 24/7. Our merchants are global. We want to innovate globally. We want to, break down these barriers.
Pushing the limits. Yeah.
Exactly. Push the limits. They'll push with you. They both sponsor the F1s now,
Yeah.
Box or push.
It's hammer time. It's hammer time.
Are you going to sing Smooth Operator for us, Arthur?
I mean, candidly, I would probably go to an F1 race and be the first one to be like, push. I have a great friend. His name is Alex Simpson.
Yeah.
But I still receive, like the emoji, like the fist. I receive this, and every time that I see it, or every time that I see him, he's like, "You pushing, brother? Push, push."
Yeah.
But like he's driven. Like you were talking about mentors, he's been one of mine, and like he's driven me to become a more driven individual, which is insane. But
the aura of inspiration by high performers, like I say that even in payments, like if you look around you, my founder, but against that backdrop, even the seniors at schemes, the seniors in lots of different banks and business neobanks, they have this aura. No lie, one of the greatest days of my life was walking past Lewis Hamilton and getting a little fist bump. Didn't wash my hand for a day. Sorry to those people that I met, but
Lewis is something.
But you feel inspired by being in their presence and then seeing their art. Our art is payments. Like you can be inspired by people in payments. It's like, it's corny, but actually like, holy shit, I'm actually really proud and like passionate.
I am too.
About payments.
Like we empower global commerce. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for like literally 1 second.
Yeah.
If you had to choose one or two of your favorite partners, who are they?
Oh, easy. Visa, MasterCard.
Done.
Yeah.
Easy. Awesome.
This episode is sponsored by Visa and MasterCard.
It isn't, but
I don't think I have a very soothing voice. Australian, raspy.
I guess last topic of the day. We talked about the partnership with the scheme between PSP,
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of different topics, including technology. Want to give you kind of the mic and maybe tell us a bit more about what is Checkout doing in the agentic commerce space.
Yeah. Look, a couple of things. We need to bridge this technology again. We need to obviously there needs to be the right amount of controls for consumers. But what we're trying to do is partner with AI companies to make sure they can get payments in and continue to grow their business models. They're providing value. So it's just core acquiring and being laser focused on making sure they get the best approval rates. And we do that with our technology. We do that with, our performance team that's absolutely obsessed and we love it. And every bit counts. It could mean
Yeah.
X amount to the balance sheet a day, which means that company can continue to reinvest. So one is focusing on getting them to have a very good payments product suite that allows consumers to interact with them. I think the second is taking agentic to the next level, right? So leveraging tokenization, right? Leveraging the abstraction, these assets and the way that schemes have tokenized elements to be able to push that through, protecting your data, your PAN, putting it into a digital experience, and then offloading some of those inefficiencies. That's kind of where we see the opportunity. And we're trying to guide some of these AI companies. So hey, look at the merchant of record models. You guys can manage the payments and let consumers set their parameters. It could be a whole new world of control. Yeah, and who's going to be the issuer? Who's going to be? All these elements are in there. And
agents might issue.
Agents might issue. Yeah, exactly. Not on their own. They need a license, right?
I mean, yeah, but who knows how much information we can put to talk about tokenization, how much information we can put into tokenization. And again, I think it's going to disrupt everything, but I think you guys are at the forefront. Checkout is at the forefront of a lot of what's happening in that space.
Yeah.
Must be exciting times for you.
Yeah.
Look, this has been absolutely amazing.
It's been fun, but you're kicking me out.
I mean, at some point in time, we have to grab a drink. So we'll probably go do that at some point in time.
You and I?
Well,
I'm kidding.
we probably should. But I wanted to thank you for coming in Miami, taking the time, busy schedule. This was absolutely amazing. Thank you for everyone that's listening. This was another episode of Connecting Dots in Fintech with Ash around PSPs and the relationship with the networks and your payments journey. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Arthur.